energy, the electricity cuts off. And for a moment I was in the dark. But then the deep, black, beautiful sky filled with stars twinkling like diamonds. I never saw the sky so beautiful in my life. And I was caught up in the beauty, the wonder, and thinking of God. And down below, in the grass, little fireflies blinking on and off, like they were reflecting the beauty of the stars. And I thought of Abraham out with his sheep on a dark night, seeing the vast sky and the beautiful stars, and coming in his heart and his mind and his being, there is one God. God is one. The first person in our human history that we know came to faith in one God. And I felt that night in Isangi like I was with Abraham. And I could feel the beauty, the splendor, the majesty, the transcendence of God. And at the same time, I felt God so close to me, so intimate to me. That experience of God's greatness and God's closeness. And today we celebrate that. The readings don't speak of the Blessed Trinity, hardly mention Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. But they reveal to us a God who is at the same time wonderful, awesome, and loves us so much. Proves his love by giving us his beloved Son, whom we rejected, whom we killed, whom we made suffer, and in that suffering, God shows, I love you. It's so beautiful, Moses today, huh? The Lord, merciful and gracious, kind and faithful. And Moses says, come along with us. Stay with your people. Journey with us. A God who's near and wants to walk with us. Paul says, God is communion and peace, and our lives have to reflect that. He says, agree with one another. We have community meetings and we all disagree. Agree with one another. Mend your lives. Forgive one another. Reflect my peace, my love for you. The little I know, in Portuguese we say, não pode ensinar o Pai Nosso ao vigário. You can't teach the Our Father to the parish priest. That's foolish. And I can't come and say something to you about your charism, but I will. Excusez-moi. 3 words as I looked at Father Noai's life and your charism, this great family, the big oak tree with all the branches. First thing I thought of was closeness. The second thing, holiness. And the third thing, communion. The holiness, it's such a beautiful phrase I want to read. Padre Noai le Bon Père, he often contemplated the Holy Family, whom he referred to as the lovely image of the Trinity. La douce image de la Trinité. How beautiful, huh? And I think as he reflected on the Holy Family in their life together, the simplicity, the work, the love, he too thought of this immense tree in this family spirit of closeness, of being intimate with one another, with God. And he said he wanted the church to have a family face. The church, after the French Revolution, with Jansenism, distant from the poor, distant from the people, he wanted this friendly family face of the church. And he was inspired by the first Christians, that community of simplicity, of joy, of prayer, of sharing. I think in that sense, he anticipates, he goes ahead of Pope Francis, who says, get out there and smell the sheep, be close to the sheep. You've been doing that for 200 years, inspired by Father Noai. I think that is one of your beautiful characteristics, and I could tell stories, but I won't right now, after maybe a glass of wine. So that closeness. The second word was holiness. Before Vatican II, he believes and he writes and he talks about the call of all the baptized to be holy people, not just sisters and priests and brothers, but all of the baptized are called to be holy. And I think that comes from his meditation on the Holy Family as the lovely image of the Trinity. We have this indwelling of God within us, and we're called to live holy lives. Again, Pope Francis wrote a letter, Rejoice and be glad, on holiness. And he talks about a practical holiness, an everyday holiness, a holiness of opening the door for someone. A regular, not miracles and great visions, but a very real holiness. And that was Father Noai's vision, and I believe that's what we live. And the third word, communion. Communion. Solidarity. Your lives with your closeness, your intimacy, your friendship, your family spirit, you have this sense of communion with all the human family, with the poor, the vulnerable, with women. I told Sister Jenny a story. I was in Poços de Caldas. I was pastor there in Brazil for 3 years. I never knew the Holy Family Sisters were there 47 years before me. I went there in March. I'm going through the street, and I see a young man. He's not a young man now, he's almost 50. I did his wedding. So the oblate who was driving me, I said, stop the car. I want to say hello. I did his wedding. So I got out of the car. I remembered his name, Alexandre. I said, Alexandre. He said, Padre Louis. So he says, come over and see my mother-in-law. So we go over to, she had a little deposito, a little construction shop, hardware store. So we went in there, and I'm talking to Sita. And then she cries. I said, Sita, what is it? She says, well, I'm happy to see you, but you know, if it wasn't for the Holy Family Sisters, I would not have a life today. I said, what? The Holy Family Sisters, we were poor family. They brought us to school. And I have a life today because of the Holy Family Sisters. I said, no, Sita, the Holy Family Sisters of Bordeaux, they weren't here. You're talking about the Franciscans from Villa Alpina. She says, no, the Holy Family. I said, the Oblates never told me the Holy Family were here. Yeah, and with tears in her eyes, you know. This is how many years ago? This is like 60 years ago. You had this little poor girl at school in a little city in Brazil, and she remembers you, and she loves you, and she prays for you. And I told her, you are getting ready for this anniversary, and she said, thank the sisters. You don't know how much they have done throughout the world. So this communion, and I think, again, you have creative fidelity to your charism, and you've included in communion the universe, the care for the Mother Earth, so beautifully. And again, I say you're ahead of the Pope, because the Pope says we ought to take care of our common home and of the poor, and you're in front of us as prophets. So we celebrate this wonderful day. Excuse me for saying something about your charism. I may be totally wrong, but continue to witness to us this simplicity, this closeness, this holiness, and spirit of communion. I say a few words from St. Paul to end, okay? St. Paul from Ephesians. My response to your lives, to your 200 years of this great family, is to get down on my knees before the Father, this magnificent God who parcels out all heaven and earth. I ask him to strengthen you by his Spirit, a glorious inner strength, that Christ will live in you as you open the door and invite him in, to take in the extravagant dimensions of Christ's love. Reach out and experience the breadth of Christ's love. Test the length of Christ's love. Plumb the depths of his love. Rise to the heights. Live full lives, filled with the fullness of God. Happy anniversary, auguri.